Welcome to our CFP exam prep discussion on will provisions and their critical impact on estate planning outcomes. Today, we're diving deep into survivorship and disclaimer clauses, two elements that frequently appear on the CFP exam and can significantly affect both inheritance distributions and tax consequences. Let's start by breaking down the survivorship clause, also known as a survivorship requirement. This provision requires beneficiaries to survive the testator by a specified period, typically 30 to 60 days, to inherit under the will. Many candidates mistakenly think this is just about ensuring the right person gets the inheritance, but it's much more complex than that. The primary purpose is to prevent double taxation and avoid having assets pass through multiple estates in rapid succession. Here's a practical example that often appears in exam questions. Imagine a husband and wife who die in a car accident, with the wife surviving her husband by just 2 days. Without a survivorship clause, the assets would first pass to the wife's estate and then to her beneficiaries, potentially triggering estate taxes twice. With a 30-day survivorship clause, the assets would bypass the wife's estate entirely and go directly to the contingent beneficiaries, potentially saving significant tax dollars. Moving on to disclaimer clauses. This is where many test takers lose points because they don't fully understand the strategic implications. A disclaimer clause allows beneficiaries to refuse their inheritance, making it seem as if they never owned the assets in the first place. The key concept here is that the disclaimed property passes to the next eligible beneficiary as if the disclaiming beneficiary had predeceased the testator. A common mistake in exam questions is failing to recognize that for a disclaimer to be qualified, it must be in writing, irrevocable, and made within 9 months of the testator's death. The disclaiming beneficiary also cannot have accepted any benefits from the property before disclaiming it. Let's look at a tax planning scenario that frequently appears on the exam. A wealthy father leaves his entire estate to his daughter with his grandchildren as contingent beneficiaries. The daughter, who already has substantial assets, could use a disclaimer to pass some or all of her inheritance directly to her children, effectively skipping a generation of estate taxation. However, she cannot direct where the disclaimed property goes. It must pass according to the will's provisions. Here's another crucial point that often trips up exam takers. The generation skipping transfer tax might apply in this scenario, but only if the amount exceeds the GST exemption amount. The exam loves to test whether candidates understand these multi-layered tax implications. When studying these concepts, remember to focus on the timing requirements and tax consequences. Practice questions often present scenarios where multiple family members die in quick succession, and you'll need to determine how survivorship clauses affect the distribution chain. Remember these key points. Survivorship clauses prevent double taxation and simplify administration. Disclaimer clauses provide post-mortem planning opportunities, but must meet strict requirements. Both provisions can significantly impact the final distribution of assets and the overall tax efficiency of the estate plan. One final tip for the exam. When you see a question about survivorship or disclaimer clauses, always check if there are any tax implications before selecting your answer. The correct choice often involves both the distribution outcome and the tax consequence.